good job and they speak very well with people. And the use of distracted driving technology. About the text and safety. School safety. We had just come off a meeting 2 weeks ago about active shooter situations, planning, training, and preparation. And this is just about the police department. This is about the fire department, the Board of Education. And we're all working together in the meeting, but we have to continue to do more. I've set some times in August with the Board of Education where officers will be able to use school settings and go into actual practical exercises. And be prepared to have to enter a junior high school with the little chairs in and go do what has to be done. And I truly believe we have good police officers that will do what needs to be done, but we need to prepare them better. So we're gonna really hit the training edge on school safety. I wanna expand the youth division, I talked about it before. School sales officers, police athletic league officers, and these are dedicated units that work together to keep the school safe. Social media monitoring, watching the school threats. We had a lot of school threats this year. And I want to say the police department, the Board of Ed, the fire department, we all did a good job. We made some arrests, but we didn't panic and close schools down. We didn't have anybody hurt. But when that one day when we had the report of a kid with a gun, we closed the school down. And we evacuated it safely because we were prepared. And I want to continue to plan for that. Unfortunately, we live in a country where guns and violence is prevalent. And we want to be prepared for it. And I think we just need to continue to do that, but expand those school resource officers. Expand the police athletic league. That police athletic league will be, my gold standard would be Waterman. Go up to Waterman. They have a palace up there. They have a building. They have a place for kids to play. They have everything you could imagine for juveniles, and they offer to their juveniles. It doesn't eliminate the crime, but they also use it as a recruiting tool. Those kids start playing ball with the officers in 4th grade and they become officers one day. And I got some good advice from my lieutenants as we talk about this expansion, because there's always an area of age where what do we do with these kids? And, they turn 18 and they graduate from high school. What are they going to do until 21 and become cops? That's 3-4 major years in your life where you could get in trouble. I know I did. And maybe you're not going to be a police officer. And what my command staff came up with was one of our issues is PSAT, hiring a PSAT. Let's hire those 18-year-olds. Give them a start of a career in law enforcement by making them PSAT dispatchers or something like that. Let's give opportunities to the New Haven kids and keep them on a path of law enforcement, and then they become cops and they become the good cops that we need in the city. So I appreciate that from our command staff, and I think that's one of those innovative ideas that we need to do. We need to start right away. And we're going to do all this with school safety and SROs, and we're going to do this work with the Juvenile Review Board, and we're going to look to help the youth and not arrest them. And we've always done that in New Haven. SROs, the data shows in New Haven have not been they call it the school to prison pipeline. So what I just talked about, let's start the school to police officer pipeline. That's what the city is, and that's what I'm willing to do in my officers and lieutenants. The reclaiming of community policing and the future of the New Haven police. I want to reinvigorate community policing. Let's take regular walking beats on straight time. It's going to be difficult at first, but I'm going to do it. And build communication between officers and community, and those will be deployed by what's going on in the city. They won't be your regular walking beats like every district. When I started in 2007, there was one walking beat and one car in Illinois. That was it. Well, we can recreate that. We're going to get to the calls and we're going to do our police service, but we need our officers out there walking. And when they're walking, nobody knows where they are, and they're it helps enforce laws and clean up the neighborhood. So, my command staff's not gonna like this, but we're gonna start walking beats consisting of 10 officers and a supervisor. It'll be like a neighborhood engagement unit, and it's ready to be implemented. Walking beat locations will be by intel and district managers' needs. So one day you may have that group on Grand Avenue, another day you may have that group on Route 80. But we're gonna move it around and have 5 beats of 10 officers. The DM will work with the detail room and get those beats going. We'll also hire walking beats when we can. It's been very difficult, not gonna lie. So that's why I have to start them straight and make that commitment to you and the community that we're gonna do that. When we do get to full strength or somewhat appearing to full strength, we will have full walking beats in every district. It's something that just can't be replaced. There's nothing that replaces that. And I'm not saying that's all community police, because part of my first 100 days, every officer will have a business card with their name, their phone. We give every officer a telephone. We give them a telephone, so they have intel, shot spotter, everything else. Well, the other stuff they should have on that phone is community members' phone numbers. And they will. And we're gonna give them business cards with their phone numbers. They're gonna hand them out on walking beats. They're gonna hand them out with case numbers. And they're gonna answer their phones. And we're gonna be that community police force that we've always been. We'll get back to those basics of community policing, and the phone number will allow the citizens to have personal contact with officers. District managers. Some people said to me, why do we have district managers and why do we do it? I think it's a great idea. Every area has its own top cop. You have your own chief in your area. And there's gonna be more responsibility onto those district managers and also control of their districts. So a district manager, when we're fully staffed, right now it would be impossible to do, but they'll be given a budget. This is your overtime budget. Use it for what you wanna use for in your community. So you, as a district manager, have to listen to your community and use that money for what the community wants. Because that's what policing needs to be. Community policing is what the community wants, not what the police want. And by adhering to what the community wants, then the community will trust us more. Then the community will also tell us more things and talk to us more. So those DMs will be your top cops. I wanna keep the 10 policing districts, but get to the point where we have 10 top cops for the areas. They'll control the overtime. They'll be the division commanders, and they'll be held accountable for the overtime too, which will help when we get to a different place, get overtime costs down. Because now there'll be 10 people given a budget instead of, the detail room is running the entire city. So that's one of the big changes I want. I want each district manager will be required to host one community police event each month. So I know that's 10, so then two of them will do it twice. And those community events could be anything that they think of, either with their CMPs or other people in their things. And these events will be from the input of the community, and all our command staff and as many of our officers that can will attend these events. Back to some of the best times I've had were community nights out in New Albany. They're great times. Why aren't we doing them monthly? We could do them, people will come. And it's just another way to build community trust, to build community and get more people out talking to the officers. I want to talk about procedural justice. We will build legitimacy with this community again. I felt there's been times over the years where we've had legitimacy, and I feel like we have it and we lose it, and we have it and we lose it, and that's our own mistakes. But we will build legitimacy as officers with the community, and the command staff will build legitimacy with the officers so that we keep our officers and we retain our good officers, and our good officers don't leave. And you get this by procedural justice, which is very easy, simple things. You must give people a voice. You must treat everyone with dignity. You must be neutral in decision making. which means you respond to a call and two people are fighting, you listen to both of them, and you're neutral in your decision making. And then you create trust. Now, this may seem very simple, but it's very hard. And it's when this breaks down is when we have incidents. When this breaks down is when we have complacency and officers not doing what they need to do. And we have problems in the community. We will get back to this. And when the police have legitimacy with the community, there's data that even proves that the community will adhere to the law. So all you have to do is treat people with dignity and give them a voice and they adhere to the law. That's a proven fact. And it sounds simple, but we're going to teach it to all our officers. We already teach it at the academy, but we're going to teach it more. And I just think this is something that needs to be taught throughout the country. Because the legitimacy will also bring about more homicide and shooting solves. Violent crime will go down. All parts of our community will feel safe. And all parts of our community will feel safe with the New Haven Police Department. And the final slide I have here is about the future of the New Haven Police Department. And I got these 6 measures from what they call them 6 pillars from the Obama 21st Century Policing. And these also appear to be very easy, but it's difficult and they need to be done. And the first pillar is building trust and legitimacy through procedural justice. We just talked about that. It's just so important. It's so important. And everything else pulls into it when you have that trust and legitimacy. Police oversight with the CRB and police commissioners and with ourselves. We have to prove to the community that we will oversee ourselves. And if not, we bring in the state's attorney's office and anyone else that needs to oversee us. Third is technology and social media, including the creation of our Intel Center with cameras and expanded ShotSpotter, and using our social media better. I was just proposed by our command staff about having a social media unit where people even do podcasts related to policing, positive podcasts related to policing, and other things. So I think the word needs to get out, and the good things we do need to get out, and we're going to do that. The fourth is community policing, crime reduction, walking beats, DMs, and Project Longevity. It's real important that through walking beats and the power that we're going to give the district managers and using programs like Project Longevity and Project Safe Neighborhoods that reduce crime and we stay connected with our community. The fifth piece is training and education, more de-escalation training, and involving our community partners. You know, I have a lot of discussions with people in the community, and they're, kind of shocked that we do all these different trainings and they never hear anything about it. Now, there is some police trainings that we won't put out publicly, but I think most of them, especially the ones related to de-escalation, we need to talk more about, and we need to show the community, and we need to take the community, not just through a citizens academy, but come in our academy and watch as we teach our cadets, and then take the community's input on those classes as well. So I feel like the first and foremost thing is that if I'm selected chief, I'll stay here. I live here. I love the city of New Haven. I'm going to stay here and create stability and accountability in this department. I'm committed and passionate about serving the city, and my vision is long-term. It has to be long-term, and that's where we faltered. We've had great leaders in this city, and I've learned from some of the greatest leaders, but we need someone here for a long period of time and to stick to the plan. And most importantly, I gotta say, trust me. And this is a tough time, but I gotta say, trust me. I'm willing to listen to the community. I'm willing to teach cops to listen to the community. And I care about this community, and I care about this police department. That's all I got.
Is there anyone on the group that would like to ask a question on the no questions, but impossible.
Madam Chair, thank you, AC Jason, for your presentation. I mean, you just recently talked about building the differences between senior buses. And I wonder if you can elaborate on that, given nationwide and citywide conversations we're having about re-envisioning and rethinking about the role of police in public safety. Given that context, given the context of other initiatives, like city office that the city is undertaking. I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so I think that, the police can't do it themselves. I gave you my plan for the police department, but I'm excited about things like city compass and the ability for officers to have another route to go when they go to an issue of mental health or homelessness or substance abuse. We have minimal training on that, so we need others to do that. But the most important thing is for years, and I think, I think it's really the fault of our societies. We've made our police deal with our substance abuse people, our homeless people, and all the police knew what to do years ago. When I started 24 years ago, was arrest them. And that's not the way to do it. And I found that through my years with Project Longevity and through our violence reduction prior to now, where we had a spike in violence, I saw that when we made less arrests and focused more on legitimacy and building relationships, we made the right arrests, we got the help we needed from the community, and we got the people that were creating violence, which it's only a small fraction of people that are creating violence. We got them off the streets. And I think we have to think as a police department, and I think we do for the most part, that we need help and we need people, we need the experts. Like we need the mental health experts to deal with the mental health issue. We need the substance abuse experts. Arrest is no good anymore. And I truly believe in that, and that's all part of legitimacy and ties into it.
Thank you for the answer. And I just have another quick question. I guess I think it ties into that answer, that question. But I mean, across the data, there's a number of open air drug markets that being leaders, residents, the department have identified a constant use in our community. And have confirmed that's the issue. Can you describe your strategy that you undertake in the process of addressing these hotspots, concentrated around specific businesses, sometimes specific locations, etc.?
No, I totally understand. We had a narcotics union. We don't have the staff that let us to have it. I want that back eventually. But I will say that what I told you about walking beats are not just community trust things. When you have a hot spot or a hot area or a drug dealing area, you put a walking beat there, give it 3 days. It won't be there. And I think a combination of walking beats, some drug activity, some drug work, we're working day to day with the DEA, and they might be upset that I said this, but they didn't pull out helicopters so we could do surveillance in areas. So we're still working a tight relationship with them. Our guys in plain clothes that work violent crime do a lot of drug work related to violent crime, but we also need to expand out for the neighborhood problems. But one of our issues is it's not, you could arrest someone for selling heroin and they're back on the street the next day, right? So I think programs like Compass and other programs can talk to those people. If they're selling because they're drug addicted, which a lot do, maybe that will work as well, and I would push that issue. And I will also say I was involved in a program that came out of High Point, North Carolina, and they took high drug areas. They went out and bought drugs. They got the warrants, and they didn't sign the warrants if people, fell into a certain category. And then we would get community leaders, and they would join us, and we would bring these people in on the drug warrants and say, these people are the people that live near you, and they're tired. We need to stop. If you're willing to stop and take our help and go get a job and get some job training, we won't sign these warrants. But if you're not willing to stop, we're going to sign these warrants. And it's something that I wanted to do. It was just prior to the pandemic. I spoke to Chief Reyes about it. We were thinking about doing it, then boom, the pandemic hit, and we haven't had that unit since. But I still think it's something that in this day and age, we can't arrest our way out of drug problems, but we can work together as community and police. And it just, again, this is another example. We just need a couple courageous people from the community to stand up for us. But that is something I want to roll out as well.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Evening to you. Tell me this, with the morale so low, you talked about retention in the police department. And what are your plans for keeping officers motivated? We see that over the last couple of years that officers are kind of lax in their duties. They're not patrolling as they did in the past. But what kind of things do you think you can do to help motivate them getting back to work?
That's a good question, and I'm gonna tell you one other part of that. We have officers that came here, began working here in the pandemic, during the pandemic, when we were telling them, have as little contact as possible, don't pull people over. We don't wanna spread the pandemic, right? And we gotta kind of get those young, new officers, they don't have the knowledge and the experience to do that. And we were talking about that recently, where we need to identify those officers and put them with a veteran officer and work together. But I will tell you this, we do have a lot of good officers in the department, and we have officers that want to work. And I think sometimes it's just a perception that either we don't want them to work or the community doesn't want them to work. Just Sunday afternoon, myself and Captain Zanelli were driving around the city, pulling up on cops at parking lots, pulling up on cops at car stops, stopping cars ourselves. We got to lead by example. I'm looking for command staff personnel that are going to get out there and do the job and show those young guys and those kids that haven't done much because of the pandemic that this is a proud police department. This is a good police department, and we can do that. And we've done it before, and we'll do it again.
Great, thank you. Give us one of what you feel is the most challenging situations that you faced as chief in the Make it easier.
Last week, we had a lot this year. We had a lot of challenging situations. We had an officer pass away on vacation. We had an officer pass away from another incident. I think when it comes down to it is any incident where the officers are, where we lose community trust, trying to work this properly, but where we lose community trust and the officers feel that the community does not want them, and the community feels that the officers do not want them, or that perception of that. And there's many things that have happened that happens. But I've also seen in my time here, in my 24 years as a cop, that it turns around. And it only takes a few good people to turn that around. And that's what I'm talking about. We need to get out in front of it as leaders and show our cops that the people in this community want to be policed. They want to be policed the right way, but they want to be policed. And we can do that by getting out and working with them and showing them that we care. I don't want to give you a specific incident, but I could name 10 of the last year where we lost some community trust, and then the officers felt that the community, and that's a tough situation. And I'll tell you just one quick story. We went through, I think it was 2017, 16, I just become a lieutenant. We had 4 homicides and a whole bunch of shootings in a 2-week period. And the basketball games were starting in New Albany. And as the leader of that group, the cops didn't want to be out there. And the people in the community didn't want us out there because there was a lot of violence and they felt we weren't doing anything about it. And I said, what am I going to do to help this community so we don't have violence at this basketball game? And I was driving to the store to pick up water for the cops. And then I said, this is water for everyone. And I'll make them pass out the water during the games. And we did that, and it was a hit. And the walls came, just a bottle of water, the walls came down, and there was no violence in that 8-week period of basketball games on Sundays. And the cops enjoyed it, and I know I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, the first few times I went on that court, because like at halftime and in between games, we would go out and hand out the water. The first few times, people wouldn't take water from me. And then I finally was like, hey man, it's just water. It's hot. It was like 98 degrees. And you know what? Every time after that, they took water, you know, and it's not that difficult, right? But it's simple things like that this police department does do and can do again that will make us successful.
Great answers. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's a good person, but give to other members.
Another presentation, the passion for our city, especially for our children. The children are our future, and I think you have a vision, and I think that you're going to be able to get a vision across to all of us. Because it's about our city, we're all one. And I just want, how much more can you think you can get working with our children? You said a lot. Is there anything else that you think you would want to share that we all can work with?
I mean, it's truly, a lot of stuff I talked about came from other officers just talking to them. After the mayor said he was putting me up for confirmation, I rode every night with a different district manager. I rode with other officers. I rode C-Squad. It just went back to the basics and said, what do you guys need? What do you guys think? How would you diversify the park? How would you help the youth? And that's where those answers came from. It's just about being a leader that listens and puts those ideas from the C-Squad cop that never really sees the daylight, but has great ideas, and pulling them out and putting them to work. And I think we've neglected SROs because we thought we had to, and we've neglected PAL, and we need to really boost that up with officers that care and just watch them go and listen to them and learn the ideas from them. You know, off the top of my head, I just want to see more engagement. The walking beats need to, when we do get up to regular walking beats, go to the schools. Go to the schools, walk to the school. We have a school security crisis in this country. Why can't we have a walking beat walk through the school? The kids are gonna feel better about it, you know? So just little ideas like that, and then build that PAL unit and listen to those cops. There's great cops and SROs. We lost 2 to retirement, but the 5 that were there, they had a big challenge. There used to be 12, and there was only 5. And those 5 still held down the schools this year and still came up with ideas and pushed forward. So I'm gonna just say, listen to my people. You know, I'm gonna say, you know, listen to everyone. You got, you know, back to, you know, people think I'm crazy about this legitimacy thing, but give everybody a voice and listen to the kids, because the kids will tell you what they want to.
Thank you. You talk about I'm hoping that you can bring back now we have a little skatery and bring back the hockey. And I think it'd be great to see the children play when we do the Chief Cup. We have a children's hockey game too with that. I know it's there, and I hope we can bring it back. Thank you for your response.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna use that idea. So, good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just unrelated question, but I mean, you mentioned building a strong relationship with the CRB. And as we all know, the CRB was made to be in terms of, you know, being a mechanism for community input and oversight. So if confirmed as chief, you know, what more or less would you want to envision that relationship being? You know, it's improving on it as it is now. As, you know, we had it for a few years now, and obviously there's been some challenges. But I'd be interested to know how you believe the relationship between CRB and this department should be from your end, of course.
I think when you're looking at oversight, accountability and stuff that the CRP is doing day to day, out and be with the officers, so they see that what the officers are doing, what the officers are sometimes challenged with, and what's really going on, right? You could take a perspective, you know, luckily we have a lot of body camera now, so body camera tells us story, luckily. And, you know, I want to see the CRB engage more with our officers. I mean, Captain Zanelli has a great relationship with them, but myself as a chief, I need a better relationship with them. And I just want engagement with the officers. I think it's a tool for oversight, but I don't think it's really clicking yet. And I think by communicating more with us and us communicating more with them, and then even go around ride-alongs or anything, to see a little bit of the perspective of the police officer, because they're going to get the perspective of the complaint, definitely. You know, I just think that relationship needs to be built further, whichever way we can do that.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One more question. I said it would get easier with this one. You talked a lot about training and everyone needing training from right down from the patrol officer to the command staff. When you do training, we know that bodies have to be replaced to be on the street. So give me an idea of how you would deal with those expenses of overtime, filling those positions during the training.
So some of the trainings we streamlined where we have people doing it online, you know, some of the easier trainings, but I think the real essence of training is doing it in person and really challenging the officers. So I agree with you. But I think we need to figure out a way, like the summer is difficult, it's busy, but I think in the winter, we can take half the city and train it and then put them back on, and you know, there's ways to do it. I just don't think we've been innovative because we've always just done it this way. We do it this way. I think there have been some innovative ways, but I think we need to get back to that where you have, for instance, you have 8 cars in the hill between 5 and 3, or probably not, say 6. But 3 of those cars will go into training for 2 hours and come back, and then at the end of the shift, those other 3 cars will go into training. And then we'll take segments of the city. We need to train more. We need to give more realistic training. We have a great shoot no shoot thing at the academy. Listen, we're not out there shooting a lot. We need to train face-to-face personal interaction. We need to train legitimacy. We need to train the tools that the officer will need every day. I'm not discounting that other stuff. We need that other stuff too, but I just think we need to think of innovative ways right now. We're working back towards more fuller ranks. When we do that, it makes it real easy. But right now, we just have to rotate cars and try to get a couple hours of training. We did do that in the spring. It was a little bit successful, but it's difficult. I'm not going to say it's easy.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Alder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chief. Presentation I've heard so far, you answered most of the questions that I had to bring up, but maybe I didn't hear if you had anything to say about the relationship between Yale Police and related police. I noticed that a lot of the property that Yale has, there's some unwanted activities going on in this property, especially in my area, my ward. How do we address this issue with the two police departments?
Well, I have an excellent relationship with outgoing Chief Higgins and incoming Chief Campbell. Chief Campbell was a mentor of mine when I was coming up through the ranks, and I'm going to ask him to help us with these issues. And I think Chief Campbell's, passion like I have for this city, he's going to give us the available stuff we need. We were just talking about some events coming up this week where we're gonna need to work together. And, you know, Yale's gonna have to help us out. He was very forthcoming and very helpful. And I just think a lot of things start with personal relationships, right? We have that personal relationship. We're gonna continue that personal relationship. I'm gonna make big acts of him, and he's gonna make big acts of me. Sorry. Sorry. But my point is we already know each other. We already know each other. We already know where we're coming from. And if there's not a better person to know the city of New Haven, it's him. So we'll be able to work together and we'll address those issues. And there's a lot of quality of life issues in the board that I need to address with you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We talked a lot about stability and talked about stabilizing the command center, and we talked about community engagement, and we talked about a lot of things. One of the things that I find very enthusiastic about is the PAL program. PAL program, I know in my area, we used to have baseball with the kids, and we used to take the kids out to water and they played with the water teams, and it's a great organization. They do have the place to play, they have everything right there. What would it take to get something organized like that?
I truly believe it would take a full-time crowd, which is just a couple officers, a sergeant, have the heart and soul to drive it. All of those monies in Waterbury are donated. So we need people that part of their job is to get monies donated or throw fundraisers. We have a great fundraiser every year to do a golf tournament. You know, don't hold me to it, but I think we make 20, 30,000. That's the only fundraiser we do, because the officers aren't full-time PAL officers, but these full-time PAL officers will be the ones that care about it, are all about it, maybe grew up in the PAL system. They will also do fundraising. Because they'll do fundraising on their own time because they're so excited about it. When I told a couple of the officers that are SROs and our SRO sergeant that I was thinking of doing this, he did it back for him. I mean, he's that excited about it. So we put the right people in the right places, and we get donations, and we run events, and we, you know, those community meetings that the DMs are gonna have. Maybe we'll put up a dunk tank and we'll dunk all the Mantoons for $1. We'll get a big line for that. But that money will go to PAC. It's that easy, you know, like it sounds complicated, but it's not. And then at another event in that month, that's a great idea too. You just gave me another great idea. At each of those events, there'll be a fundraiser for PAC. You know what I mean? And it, you know, and it's about creating something that the officers will be invested in and the community will be invested in. You know, because if we talk about Waterbury, what I don't understand is why every other city doesn't have something like this. Because we didn't put the time and effort or the right people in place to do it. And I'm saying that this is it's not a new thing, because we always had good PAL. But I want better PAL, and I want fundraising PAL, and what you're talking about. And I went up and saw the chief of Waterbury a couple of weeks ago, and I saw all that. And I was blown away. And that's the gold standard, and you know, that's what we need to do. But it's about the right people in those places. And I think, actually, I was talking to some community members about that, and 2 or 3 on the side took me aside and said, "Hey, here's my phone number. I'll help with PAL. If you were to start PAL, I'll help with PAL." The community's going to rush into it too.
I think it's a great opportunity for our youth to be engaged and to see police officers' dedication to our youth and to understand that police aren't all bad. We're trying to work with the youth, and it's a great opportunity to engage with the youth too as well. I like everything about the policing of our I'm a walking beat person. I know that when today we're just, Lieutenant, right? Sergeant, he knew everyone. He knew the kids, he knew the parents, he would knock on their doors and tell them, hey, so-and-so, son is on, what's your, you know, or if you don't go home in the next 10 minutes, I'll call water. You know, those are the things that, he wasn't doing it to be spiteful, he was doing it to save the community. But once the kids are out past a certain time, they tend to engage in devious behavior. And so this is not just my son, but the neighborhood kids as well. So I think that if I work in New York and I see the walking beats every day. They walk up one side, down one side, and they do it like 10 times, and I'm like, don't they get tired of walking the same street? But that is their job. They are the walking beat, and they work in our building. I mean, they have offices in our building. And I talk to them sometimes, and it's the only way you can, because we have a drug addiction center in our building. So that's the reason why walking beat is very, very good for us. But it's something that when I see the police coming, they back away. And they don't stand and do things that they were doing like 10 minutes before the police came out. So maybe it's not all bad, but some of the things I think can change with people knowing that policing beats may be out there today, maybe not tomorrow, but next week. You know what I'm saying? So that if they know that it's a possibility, these issues won't arise, is what I'm trying to get at.
Absolutely.
Any further questions? Any further questions from the committee? Thank you. Your presentation is exactly what we were looking for. I think the diversity opportunities in your organization are well thought out. A lot of the items that you addressed here, I think the whole board of the enthusiastic about, but I can't speak for everybody. But I appreciate the time and effort that you put into making this proposal for us. That's all we wanted. We wanted to see something.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to say in closing, we do have a lot of good police officers, and I'm going to capitalize on them, and they're great. And this city is moving in the right direction in the violent crime. We only have 5 homicides, where last year this time we had 15. And the cops are doing their job. They got 140 guns so far this year. And they're working hard. They're working hard. We just need stability and leadership. And I think we're going to be okay. And I just appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Rebecca just, thank God, someone to say, thank God, so far. Not that more.
No, she thinks I'm a jinx.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll call the public up to, and we have a list of the first people who have actually signed up. So if you come up to the table, you state your name and address for the record. When Williams? Is she here? Okay. Yes. Yes.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Aldermanic. I am the director for the Youth and Recreation Park for the City of Decatur, 19 Alexander Street, Connecticut, 06516. I have had the opportunity to collaborate with Assistant Chief Jacobson for about the last year and a half due to my capacity being the director of the Youth and Recreation Department. He has been responsive to our requests, and at no time has he not found the time to work with our department's programmatic thrust, particularly our Youth Connect program. Assistant Chief Jacobson has been a present help as we engage our high risk and at risk with the many tasks and responsibility he has as an assistant chief. He did not find a robbery to walk with this department and other youth serving organizations to knock on doors and to engage our youth. Now, my educational background is social work, and is sitting as a current licensed social worker. One of the things that we are taught to is to observe and to report out. So if I was sitting with you all and I had to report out as a social worker on my observations, I would say to you, I have observed the following. Assistant Chief Jacobson resolved to find a better way to support our youth is second to none. His commitment to their well-being can never be questioned. He is present and he is available, which is a testament to his character and his integrity. Assistant Chief Jacobson, I have observed attention to details and his ability to follow through on commitments, handling sensitive matters in an appropriate and timely fashion makes him an excellent candidate for this position. I have also observed that Assistant Chief Jacobson is highly motivated. He is a team player, he is a community ambassador, and has the ability to take any assignment or task to a higher level. I have observed his good judgment, practical experience, and mature outlook ensures a logical and practical approach to any endeavor which he takes. So if I had to conclude my assessment in my observation, I would say that there is no other person that can serve in the capacity as chief of this great city other than the person of Carl Jacobson. He will be an asset not only to the city, but to the community and to his staff and to the people that he serves. So I sit here to wholly endorse Assistant Chief Carl Jacobson for the position of Chief of Police for the city of New Haven. Thank you so very much for allowing me this time.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Ronald Higgins,
Good evening, Ron Huggins, 165 Church Street, New Haven. Here to speak on behalf of Assistant Chief Jacobson. When I look at the Assistant Chief and someone to be chief, I look for someone who's balanced, trustworthy, fair, innovative, progressive, but most of all, someone who's a leader. When I look at what a leader is someone who shows up, not only in good times, but also in times of tough. In my role as youth service manager with the youth department, I've seen Carl Jacobson show up with our community partners, with our youth connect program, which is our director football, but also when I came up with crazy ideas. When we came up with a youth-based concert, Carl Jacobson showed up and said, how can we make this happen? When it came time to distribute bikes and running cameras, he said, what can we do to work together to make this happen? Birthday rivals, Carl showed up. When it came to working with our art museum and doing crimes and homicide, Assistant Chief Jacobson, time and time again, has showed up. When my mom passed away 4 years ago, the guy that adopted me as a little, and I've been able to have time to see him work after hours, to see him in the capacity of a dad, showing up to the Dover County field hockey game, but also being there not only when his son's best friend passed away weeks ago, going to his son's friend's funeral, and that same day going to a homicide for a victim in our city. That's what you call a leader showing up. Carl Jacobson shows up, he cares, he's always in the community, and not only holds himself accountable, but also has the balance to follow his officers accountable as well. With that being said, I wholeheartedly as president of the city and the board of the city, support Carl Jacobson to become the next police chief.
Thank you. The next speaker, Tracy Stubbs. Tracy Stubbs, please. Name and address of record, please.
Tracy Suggs, 260 Davenport Avenue, New Haven.
Don't press the button.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes, I want to speak on Paul Jacobson. I met Paul Jacobson back in 2007 when he was still in recruiting for the department. I didn't know I met him there until maybe a year later down the road. I'm also the mother of Justice Suggs, who was killed in 2006 in the city. I was a part of C2BOT, which was a new program started by Shafiq Abdul-Sabah. We went to the academy to do a little demonstration for the recruits on how to handle gun violence in the city and families in the community, how to we spoke about de-escalation. What I can say about Carl Jacobson is that from my own personal experience, when it came to my community, whenever I called him to a child, a family in the community, he was always there. He didn't hesitate to pick up his phone, talk to a child, a family. Anytime my community needed him, he was there. It just took one call. It was an hour, he was there. We do book bag, give back to the kids every year. I call Carl, excuse me, it's Chief Jacobson about book bags for the kids. Within 45 minutes, they were leaving, and him and his team were leaving to go to Hartford for a conference. Within 45 minutes, him and his team had that money there for those book bags. So we were able to give out 500 book bags. He has been a support for my family, and I think this city will be a winning city to have him as chief, because he is so compassionate when it comes to our city. He really cares about the youth. He cares about communities, and I know he would definitely bring change to the department. We need officers in our department that comes to the community with compassion and empathy when doing their jobs. And Chief Jacobson is that man to bring that to our community. We need that. Like Ronald said, the leadership that he brings is outstanding. And the city would be doing, this board in the city would be doing us a justice by appointing him chief. I couldn't think of a better man that I want to go run in a department in a city that I live in. And I think.
Thank you. Next speaker, Lieutenant Dana Smith. Name and address for the record.
Dana Smith of 189. Good evening. I'm honored to be present to speak a few words on behalf of Chief Jacobson. My name is Dana Smith, President of the Raven Gardens. Before I get started, I would like to express upon working with Chief Jacobson over the past 10 years in his vision of what policing needs to be. I feel he embraces the qualities that this department requires to move forward with building a sustainable relationship with the police and the community. One of the many great attributes that Chief Jacobson demonstrates is dependability. As many of you may know, you can contact Chief Jacobson at any time, day or night, even at 3 in the morning. He will pick up the phone and respond to any location within the city. And with that being said, if Chief Jacobson is confirmed, I am confident he will be a fair and impartial leader, providing an equal opportunity across the rank and file. Chief Jacobson truly believes in procedural justice, police legitimacy, and best practices, and understands what 21st century policing encompasses. Chief Jacobson is confident and demonstrates a command presence as a leader should. He is passionate and advocates for higher education as he recently graduated with a master's degree with his daughter from the University of Haiti. This achievement is highly commendable. Chief Jacobson provides a vision for the department to foster a positive work environment for all members of service. During recent conversations, I am inspired by his motivation towards career development through training and mentoring officers that will elevate their careers as they rise through rank and file. Lastly, and most importantly, he is dedicated to building the community's trust and maintaining transparency to effectively promote and nurture positive relationships in the New Haven community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Luca.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Sergeant Chevelle Carr.
Sure. Yep, sure. Yeah. And don't press it, right? Good evening. I have been with the New Haven Police Department since 2012. Being a police officer in the city where you come from is rewarding, but it can also present many challenges. Since the beginning of my career, Chief Jacobson, at the time that I got on, I believe that he was a sergeant. He always afforded me opportunities to advance my career. In 2012, when I was in the academy, and then again just recently, while I was working as a detective under his leadership, my father was incarcerated. And during those times, Chief Jacobson never judged me. He can continue to afford me opportunities, regardless of what people were seeing in the department, regardless of the way that they looked at me. He knew that it was important to continue to give me opportunities to keep me motivated. He has shown me time and time again how dedicated he is to this city. There is not a time or an event that I had that he was not present or did not give a donation to support the cause. There is not a time that I have had a difficult time, whether it be work, family related or not, that he has not been there or has not shown up, as many other people speak about. This just speaks to his character and who he truly is. This is the type of leader that we need in our city right now, a person that is dedicated and willing to put the work in and the time in. To keep officers motivated at this time, which is a tough time, it's extremely hard, but I truly believe that Chief Jacobson has that quality because of his love for the city and the police. I can't stress how committed Chief Jacobson is to this department. His leadership is necessary.
Next speaker is Douglas Levine.
Douglas Levine, 19 Westbrook Lane, New Haven, Connecticut. Thanks for having me here today. I'm sure you guys see me moving up to this point. I supported Carl very, very, very eagerly and hard. I just see him as a young man with great leadership. He's like an older brother to me. Just to tell you one quick story, I was a street outreach worker and working with him, and we was at a ComStat meeting, and we had some kids that kind of did some things they shouldn't have been doing and had a worn out for the rest of summer. And it was during the holidays. And everyone's like, well, what are we gonna do about it? Assistant Chief Jacobson said, you know what, it's the holidays, we're gonna do this. I said, Dougie, he said, you're gonna go get these kids, you're gonna tell them, listen, they're gonna meet you down at the New Haven Police Department, they're gonna turn themselves into you, you're gonna turn them in over to the police department, we'll arrange it with juvenile probation or parole probation, and we'll get these kids out. We'll support them in court, we'll get them out so they can be home with their families. I can sit here and tell you, after that, we've never had one problem on these two young men. That's just the leadership he brings. He's helped turn things around in my life. Anytime we call him, he's there. My wife never comes to me and she says she doesn't deal in politics. My wife is sitting here today because that's how much she believes in it. I was surprised. I asked her to come to what meetings. No. Asked for about car, he's here. My daughter just said, Dad, you always late. Let it be about car. You're here. My family loves him. We believe in him. The people in the community believe in him. Everybody said what needs to be said. We want true leadership in the city. We want to see the crime rate go down. We want to see people get up off their behinds and work with somebody, achieve that to make change in this community. I'm willing to do it, and I know a lot of other people in the city are willing to do it. He brings just that great leadership. I don't put my name on tags for anybody. I truly believe in him. I love him like a brother. And I know it's not nothing that I won't do for him and he wouldn't do for me. But I just need to ask a question. Is it okay for the chief of police call you on the phone, you're not home, I'm on my way home, for him to just walk into your house, go sit on your couch, and watch your big screen TV? That's stuff I do with it. But overall, he's a great person. And I will go hard, as I've been going, to make sure that we get this young man in as chief, because I think he has great leadership and his officers believe in him. And I'm like, you work too much. And sometimes you got to go home and relax. You can't be out here with the officers. So hopefully we can teach him one lesson. Be the chief, let your staff do the job, and relax and be the chief and be the commander of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Next speaker is Tia Treadgill. Are you gonna jump in and say your name wrong?
You said my name right.
I said it right. I won't get dumped anymore. That's off the table, chief.
My name is Tia Treadgill. I guess it is 33rd Street. I'll just read what I wrote. Good evening, my name is Tia Treadgill, and I've had the opportunity and privilege of knowing Chief Carl Jacobson both professionally and personally. It is through these experiences and interactions that I believe that he will be a great chief for the city of New York. As a professional, I have seen Carl not only police, but community police. He's always been in my neighborhood, visible and approachable by children and youth. I have seen him participate in moments that have put the biggest smiles on kids' faces during the pandemic, that will live permanently in their minds and hearts. I have seen him in our communities having tough conversations and looking for ideas to strengthen the relationship between community and police. I've seen Chief Jacobson be proactive in tackling crime in our neighborhoods by working with families and schools to see what resources our neighborhoods need to be safer. As a person outside of the uniform, Chief Jacobson has stepped up for my family in a big way, providing an officer that my 3 sons can look up to by simply participating in an in-house fight. And also becoming someone we can trust and call on no matter the day or hour. He has become our family and my son's Uncle Carl. He is mine to all of us because of who he is as a man, respectable, honorable, loyal, loving, and committed. I believe Chief Jacobson will be a great fit for the chief of New Haven because he is not only invested in the city of New Haven as a town or place of employment, but as his family that he has to protect.
Thank you. Next speaker, Maria Rodriguez. Name and address further, please.
My name is Maria Rodriguez, and I'm here. Check the microphone.
Don't push the button.
Like this.
No, like that.
My name is Maria Rodriguez. I am a licensed clinical social worker and a long-term resident living in the Hill area of New Haven. Also, I have the privilege to serve as a chaplain to the New Haven Police Department. It is a pleasure for me to be here tonight to say a few words about the Assistant Chief of Police, Carl Jacobson. During the 50 years or more that I have resided in New Haven, I have seen many chiefs of police come and go, especially during the last 3 years, which I think is not healthy for the department or the New Haven residents. Assistant Chief Jacobson is one individual I had the privilege to know for the last 4 years and work with him as a chaplain on volunteer basis. As a licensed clinical social worker, I always thinking about what are the good qualities and skills that a candidate needs to be an effective leader in a specific position, and I would like to mention a few of them. The candidate needs to possess critical thinking, sound judgment, problem-solving skills, communication, excellent interpersonal skills, a strong moral character, sense of ethic, compassion, respect for others, devotion to the community, teamwork, patience, and tolerance, among others. Working with him during the pandemic, I was able to notice all those qualities and skills that I mentioned before. In reviewing his resume, I can say without any reservation that Mr. Jacobson meets the criteria, skills, and quality to fill the positions of a great leader and a good chief of police. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Next speaker, Rodney Williams. Williams, name and address of record, please.
So don't press it.
Don't press it.
My name is Rodney Williams. I currently live on 16 Patton Road, North Haven, Connecticut.
Can everybody hear in the back? Okay. No, you don't hold the microphone.
Yes, my name is Rodney Williams. I currently live at 16 Patton Road, North Haven, Connecticut. I've been a resident of New Haven since 1978, and I like to say for the record, this might be the first time I never spoke positively about the police department. Always been issues and concerns that's been going on in the community I lived in, as far as New Hopeville. Today for me, I feel it's a great day for the city and this department. This chief worked underneath many chiefs, and he was taught to be who he is. His relationships with community people and even others, when given the chance to give his presentation, it's like, who would think that this person would be right in our department? What this city needs, the residents and the police, he's needed right now. Like what we're going through in our city, and I say our city because my businesses are located in the city. I'm in New Haven every day. And I'm proud to come here and say, thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. And he's not gonna let you down. And reach out to him. There's been many chiefs, and it's like a relay. I just think some of them run 100 yards, some of them run 200. And they all at the time they ran, they was right for that time. Right now, with this city going through and what we need, I feel like he's the right chief for right now. I appreciate the fact that things are clear for him to get the opportunity to come forward. Because right now, if he didn't do his presentation, a lot of y'all wouldn't even know. It's very powerful. So I appreciate him being able to speak to y'all, and I'm I'm not a resident, but I'm hoping that you guys get an opportunity.
Next speaker, Tyler Evans.
Good evening. Tyler Evans, 20 Baton Street. I just want to acknowledge that Chief Jacobson has been a wonderful individual from the day I met him. I met him 3 years ago. I was working for the Board of Ed, and the conversation he had with me was inspiring from the minute we met. I do want to just personally say thank you to him for everything he has done for me. He has never gave up on anyone in his community. And one thing I will stress about him, the youth. He absolutely loves the youth, and he will always back the youth on everything. Chief Jacobson does not know how to sleep. I will tell you just like this, just like everybody else told you, him being chief in the near future, he will 100% still decide he's gonna work a C spot at any time, at any day. But I do absolutely just want to say thank you to him for everything he has done for me and everybody else in the police department. Chief Jacobson has been a second father to me. My role of from athletics to juvenile detention in the police department. He told me when I first met him, no matter where you go in your career, I feel like we need you in law enforcement. I'm from New Haven, and he watched me grow as a person. I just want to be here to literally say thank you to him and acknowledge the fact that he's an amazing person. Thank you.
Speaker, any yes. Name and address for the record, sir.
86 Village Circle, Hamilton, Connecticut.
Floor is yours.
I'm here on behalf of Chief Jacob. He's been a very great friend of mine. He got met my son out a lot when he was in trouble. He always come to my house, talk to him, make sure he stayed out of trouble, kept his name out of the street. Anytime I call, anytime of night, he calls me back. And when Chief Cameron left, I thought he was gonna get the job. I was really disappointed he didn't get the job. So I'm hoping that he does get the job. He's the right man for the city. He can turn the city around. He can stop the crime, he can stop the shooting, he can bring the city back where it used to be back in the day. So I'm hoping that he does get the job. He's the right man.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next speaker, Miguel Pittman.
I just want to make sure I didn't press it. My name is Miguel Pittman. I live at 82. I just bought 84, but I live at 82 Orchard Street, and I'm here to support Assistant Chief Jacobs. I think tonight is a great night because I seen his vision 8 months ago that he would be the right chief for this city. And a lot of times when I speak, and I'm at different events or even commenting on independent, most of the time is negative things that's going against the police department. But I can honestly say, through it all, I'm here on the positive. As you know, all the people that spoke tonight, and also the chief speaking. And one of the things that he kept saying over and over and over again, and I miscounted, was community. Even during his presentation, you can tell he's not a politician. He's the real deal. And what he says, he means. And what he means, he will do. In my vision going forward, I'm sure the majority of the board of Alder's is going to support us because he's the right person at the right time. And I think that he's going to set the tone for the department. I don't think he's going to be here long, like 5 or 10 years. But he's going to be here long enough to make sure that this city is right. And it's going to be another chief that's going to come behind him, that's going to be hired within the department. And all that has to do with the grooming that he's doing as we speak, the relationships that he's building. And those relationships just didn't start. It started as soon as he got the job here as a New Haven police officer. So that's my words for tonight. And I want to thank the board for this opportunity to sit here and to celebrate this moment. Thank you.
Next speaker, Virginia Spell.
Virginia Spell, 52 Miller Street.
Hey.
Thank you. So I'm here this evening to voice my support for Assistant Chief. Usually I don't do that microphone because I'm loud like my husband. I'm here to support Assistant Chief Jacobs' nomination to become the next Chief of Police for the City of New Haven. The one thing that stood out to me listening to Chief's presentation is really how authentic he is. What you see is really what you get. That is how we as a community know that he's the real deal. And if you look at the number of people that have come and spoken on his behalf, you see the diversity of people that support Assistant Chief Jacobs. So in my role as a manager for a civil rights organization, I work for the Urban League of Southern Connecticut, and oftentimes civil rights organizations and police departments don't see eye to eye. There's usually a lot of conflict within police departments and how they govern cities or how they police cities. And I speak to my colleagues across the country, and I feel sorry for them because I know that's not an issue that we have here in the city of New Haven. We feel very fortunate to have the type of leadership within the police department that really cares about diversity. They care about diversity of thought, they care about diversity of experience, and in our leadership within the police department, especially under Chief Jacobson, we've seen that he cares about the diversity of the community that he serves, which is critical to a community of color. So when I think about the opportunity that Chief Jacobson brings to the city of New Haven, I know that I've had the privilege to get to know him for over a decade, and I've seen how authentic he is. I see how real he is with the community that he serves. I see that he has the ability to be diverse and think quickly on his feet. But I also know him as a person, as a man who is a person of integrity, who's a person of honesty. He's a person of true commitment. If he says he's going to do something, he does it. And I think the thing that I love most about Assistant Chief Jacobson is his willingness to adjust. So the Urban League in partnership with Project Longevity over the last couple of years has been engaged in police reconciliation, police accountability, and really helping community reconcile with police and police reconcile with community. And Chief Jacobson has been a willing partner in all of the trainings that the Urban League in partnership with Project Longevity has done. And to me, that speaks volume about somebody who wants to get it right, wants to learn, wants to understand. He's not always going to have the right answer. But we as a community, it's our job in support of our police department to make sure that he has the resources that he needs to be successful in his job. No police chief is going to come in and solve all of the crime as much as we would like him to, but at least we want somebody at the helm who is committed to getting it done and to finding a solution. We're very fortunate in the city of New Haven, and I'm so honored and proud to put my support behind Assistant Chief Jacobson, because I know he's going to do a fantastic job as our next chief of police for the city of New Haven.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Curtis Bradfield. Name and address for record, please. Speak up and hold the microphone.
First time, Chief Jacobson, almost 10 years ago. I was 16, and at the time, Chief Jacobson was always, always like hands-on, always trying to be there, always trying to help me, because I was kind of headed down the wrong path. And I didn't realize that at the time, it was a stigma. I was growing up in an area where we didn't trust police officers. And he was still persistent on helping. He still, even though I was half the time throwing them all, ignoring them, he still was, just nudging that, And then fast forward a little, I did end up getting into some trouble. And it wasn't until then I realized that he really did care about me, because not only was he ironically the one to actually arrest me, but he it sounds weird, but it really stuck that day, because seeing he was so upset that that I let him down. He was so upset. I've been trying to help. I've been trying to tell you. I've been trying to help you. I never really had, especially in the police department. I never had anyone actually sit there and express how much they cared for me, barely knew me. Well, I didn't know that. And I went away for a bit. I came back home, and this man was at my door. He was at my door, and he came and he said, "I told you, I'm all for you. I want to help you. Let me help you." And here on, I allowed him to help. Still to this day, I have a son. He call and check in. If I need help with anything, I'll bring gift cards, stuff like that. And, I could call on him. And that's a good feeling to have. Especially growing up where I come up with that. It's a good feeling to have someone like that in that position that you could trust, because it's been times where I called him and I was having mental breakdowns because I'm still trying to get back on track from messing up. And he sat on the phone with me for however long I needed. Those times he'd come and visit me, and he always cared about my safety. He always cared about me. Never crossed any boundaries, never overstepped. It was always respect. Even when he come and visit me, he's like, "Hey, is it cool if I come? I don't want anyone to, feel type of way against you." And I respect that, because again, that shows that he cares about your well-being. Most people might go, "Hey, you mean what a cop that I've done that as my word." You know what I mean? That's the authentic person. But like they said, community and youth. Jacobson is definitely one person I personally would bet my bottom dollar on to be there for the community, but he's never stopped. So, if I had to say, I'd definitely make sure he did. I appreciate it. I definitely want to thank him. And how much I appreciate him, but I don't know, without even though I went away or whatever, but I don't know, I feel like that moment there
did change me, you know, it made me start to really think and realize like, you know, life isn't a joke, life isn't, you know, this is real life there. So definitely want to appreciate, I want to thank you for that too. You know, God saved my life in a way. Thank you, I appreciate it.
That's all I close to come up with.
Yeah, definitely super nervous. You know,
Good well, good job, good job. Next speaker, BoA.
Good evening, Paul White, 170 Osborne Avenue. I've had the opportunity to work with Chief Jacobson the last few years, most recently, we started with the SRO committee, which was a discussion between the Board of Education, Citywide Youth Coalition, and various other community stakeholders on the future of SROs in the school. And in the conversations, Chief has always been committed to having the SRO program work. We saw the presentation of what he talked about and things that he wants to do. That is truly his commitment to make sure that we are walking that line that's this delicate balance between the absolute need for safety of our students in our schools, as we've seen by the tragedies over the last month, but also keeping our schools to a place where students feel safe and they are not in prison complex, and making sure we are not supporting the school to prison pipeline. For that work, I expect and know that continue to work with Chief Jacobson, we will be able to do great things with our schools, continue to support and protect our youth as we go forward. And as I said, these are the things that are innate to his character, what he truly does, and do support his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff? Anything?
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak at this time?
Don't worry, you feel like go first. You didn't have to push him out of the way.
I have never wanted to push him.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Thomasine Shaw. I live at 188 Howard Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 061 06519. I am here to actually agree with everyone who's been here to support the nomination of Carl Jacobson as the next chief of police for this city. I have lived on Howard Avenue now for 38 years. I've lived in New Haven a lot longer. I have lived through all these chiefs of police that New Haven has had. And I finally got to a chief of police that I thought was extremely good, and that was Chief Campbell, and then I lost him. And then the next two chiefs were here so fast, I hardly remembered their names. And now we have Carl Jacobson. And I remember him because I used to attend, and still do, attend the ComStat meetings on a regular basis. And in the beginning, Assistant Chief Jacobson was heading up the investigation of squad or department, however you call it. And, and he was fine, just a regular, he would sound like a regular guy. He had a lot he impressed me because he had a lot of the qualities that I saw in Chief Campbell. And then I also appreciate the fact that Carl Jacobson, in his position in the investigative department, he actually came up with innovative ideas to improve that department and to communicate with everyone associated with law enforcement, and would meet with them on a regular basis. So, I mean, he wasn't just someone that sat on that job and, and just did his work. He actually looked to see how he could make it work better and how, of course, that would improve the effects and impressions for the New Haven Police Department. So yes, I don't have children, so I don't have that relationship with them. But in the ComStat meetings, you get an idea of how policing is affecting the entire city of New Haven. I live in the Hill, but I live in New Haven as well. So yes, I want to see how things are being done. And I think he would do an excellent job. Okay, so he's number 2 to Campbell. That's because Campbell was the first one.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
He's my neighbor, name Moore.
What word?
I know. I keep opening his door and yell at him.
Anthony Campbell, 101 Ashford Street. I echo everything that everyone has said this evening. Carl Jacobson is an extraordinary leader, but more importantly, he's an extraordinary man. Something that someone said, I'll reiterate. The reason I think that he would be not only a good police chief, but a great police chief, and I think he has the potential to surpass many, if not all, of the police chiefs that have come before him, is because he has a quality which I think is very important in leaders. He doesn't seek power. I'm always leery of people who seek power for themselves, who seek the title, who want the name chief, who want to be the head person, and that is not who Carl Jacobson is. When I was leaving the department, I told Chief Reyes, who I was turning the department over to, that I think that Carl would be the next person to be an assistant chief. And Carl, being a worker like I am, loving to chase the overtime and knowing that taking the assistant chief's position would mean that it would be a serious pay cut for him. And I talked with him and said, I think it would be good for you to take the position because I see great things in the future for you. I see you running this department in the future. He was like, I'm not sure, for a number of reasons. And to me, that showed that he has the right heart, because the things he was doing in the department wasn't so that he could be a lieutenant, so that he could be running ISU. When he took over the plain clothes unit and did an excellent job with a unit that is pretty self-run, but requires a great deal of supervision, he elevated it. He elevated every position that he's ever had in the department. And he's always been that person that, even when I was running the department, I could look to, not just to give me yes answers. He's not a yes man. He is that person who's going to give you pushback and say, well, chief, did you think about this? Well, what about that? Or this is what the street is saying, because he knows the pulse of the street. He understands, and it's not just catchphrases and cliches for him when he talks about community policing and police legitimacy. He understands that that legitimacy is first based on not just what tactics and deployment and reduction of crime, but that people have to really know that you care about them as human beings. That is the first step of legitimacy, and that is exactly what he has because of who he is. He is that person who is the same today as Assistant Chief Jacobson as he will be as Chief Jacobson. he will lead the department and do everything that he presented today. It's not just, here's something good, look at that. If I give you all of this, this should be enough that you have confidence in me. It is legitimately who he is and what he plans on doing. Even tonight, he said, my staff may not be happy with me, but this is what we're gonna do. That's what leaders do. They understand that, yeah, your staff may not be happy with you. The officers may not be happy with you with some of the decisions you have to do. Sometimes the community's not gonna be happy with you, but you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And that is who he is. I'm confident that when he takes over the department, as he said before, as I take over the Yale Police Department, that there will be a number of big asks that he can ask of me, and I will help in any way that I can. I can tell you on the record that should he ask me for Yale to sponsor the dunk machines for Captain Antonio. And he's right that we do ask a lot of one another. We do bounce things off of one another. And that's what I think good leaders do. They understand that they don't have all the answers. They understand that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. And they understand that we get so much more done together. We are stronger together than we ever are apart. And I think that he will elevate the department, diversify the department in its leadership. And most importantly, I know that he will hold officers accountable. Because when you do that, the community understands that police officers and police chiefs and leaders are not perfect, that we recruit from the human race, but that when something wrong happens, you hold people accountable and the community will work with you to move forward so that we can heal. And I know that's what he will do. That's who he is. And I'm just thankful that the mayor made, in my opinion, the right decision, chose the right person, and I think he's going to do a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't look at me.
Charge $2 at the fundraiser.
Exactly. I need some money.
Money.
Do I get half of it?
No.
No.
I-
Name and address of record, please.
I just came to stand on behalf of just to speak on behalf of Chief Jacobson. I always call him Chief. Speaking it into existence, I think that he would be an awesome chief. He's going to be an awesome chief, I should say. I think that if you guys choose him as chief, you will be doing the city of New Haven a great service. I think, well, I know that physically he has the portion to be chief, but most importantly, he has the human heart to be chief. He goes above and beyond everything that he does as chief to this community. I met Chief Jacobson at a rough point in my life when I was my son in 2020. Even though he was not the chief, he personally came to share his condolences. He personally came to the service. Anytime I called, whether it was one of my bad moments or whether just asking questions, he answered. If he didn't know, he would say, I'll call you back shortly, and he would actually get back and care. He made sure, is there anything we can do during the pandemic? Are you guys okay? You need anything? When they were passing out turkeys, he was out there passing them out. We don't see that in higher up, you know, they send the lower down. But in order to be a leader, you first have to be a servant, and he has that. Not only is he a servant, he has a servant's heart. He demonstrates that. I recall the time when I asked him, can you have one of your guys go pick up one of my sons? And he laughed at me. You gotta do something in order for me to arrest someone. But he understood that as a mom, when you see different things in your children, you want the best for them. He didn't just laugh me off or, you know, maybe we can do something else. What else can I help him with? You know, can I talk to him? Those are things that show that he would be a great leader. And if he has the community standing behind him, there'll be a lot of changes in the city of New Haven. He's not going to be perfect at it. We can't expect that of him, but there will be great changes. And if the leader is serving And if the leader is doing what's right behind closed doors and in the public eyes, then his staff have no other choice but to step in that role and follow behind what they see their leaders doing. Because without that, they know there's going to be accountability. And when you have accountability, you have change, because you're thinking now before you're acting. And with that being said, he has all of those. As he said, everyone said, he loves the youth. You call him at 1 in the morning, he's going to pick up. If he doesn't pick up, he'll call you back. Hey, I missed a call from you. Everything okay? If I say, look into this, he actually does that. To hear Kurt come up and speak was big. That alone shows you our community doesn't trust police. You're taught that. But when you have chiefs like Chief Jacobson to come back, you'll get that old school police versus community where I know your name. That's such and such's child. And then you can stop some of it, because now I can prevent it before it actually happened, not coming after the fact to the scene. I already know who that is. So if I could pull you to the side, now we have that communication. So now the barrier is no longer broken between the community and the city of New Haven Police Department. And I think that by giving him the job as chief, we will get that back. And I know she said Campbell will be better, but I think he'll exceed Campbell. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak this evening? I see our chief fire department is coming up.
John Austin, Line Supervisor. Good evening. Do not want to prolong it. I've heard everything that I already know. I came here a little over 5.5 years ago, and I've worked in public safety about 37 years now, very closely with law enforcement, very closely with emergency medical people. I spotted Carl Jacobson working in the streets, and I watched him. Just like when William said, you watch people, a pretty good judge of people. I watched him and I asked Anthony Campbell, who is that the baseball cap and the jeans and the sneakers? And he said, that's Carl Jacobson. I said, he's good. I've watched his interactions. Now as the assistant chief, you cannot separate his character from his technical skill. You cannot separate his heart from his decision making. I'll just share this quote and I'll just say that Abraham Lincoln said, any person can survive adversity. But if you give a person power, that's what tests their character. When you look at what Carl Jacobson has done at every level since I've been here, he's always made the right decisions for the right reasons at the right time. New Haven, the city, we need to heal with our police department. He is the man for a time such as this, the person for a time such as this. And I would hope that you would confirm it. He's a phenomenal human being. When we lost Ricardo Torres, he was one of the first people in the hospital with us. And he never left our side during our difficult times. Great human being, great family man, but an excellent cop. An excellent cop. And I've got him in my family. He's an excellent cop. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to testify this evening? Thank you.
Good evening, Daniel Hart, 321 North Road. If you're looking for someone who's approachable, reachable, and caring, you'll have Chief Jacobson. Chief Jacobson really cares about his community and young people in New Haven. He's always responsive, always approachable. He's always out there in the community. He's always there for the young people, victims, family members who lost to gun violence. And one thing that I could say that he's done for me. When my grandmother passed away in 2020, he called me and my mom and was there to support us. He even came by my house with Lieutenant Warner and retired Sergeant Merced, and just talked to me, even calm me down, because my grandmother was scared for me, and I lived with her. So when I lost her, it was a traumatic loss for me. So they were that comfort, and he even gave me a hug and gave me 2 gift cards, and so he's someone that I think will be a good chief of police. When I get honored for different awards, him and Captain Zanelli always there, always. There's not one event that they miss, because they truly show that they care about the young people and that they want to grow and do positive things in the city. So if you guys confirm, which I hope and pray that you guys do, Chief Jacobson will be a good chief and good fit for the city.
Anyone else like to testify this evening? Is there anyone else that would like to testify this evening? One more time. Anyone else would like to testify this evening? Thank you, seeing none.
Chair, and move to close the public portion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, in discussion during here. But, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There's no nays and no abstentions. Thank you. No. The procedure is this evening is that we will not be taking a vote on this evening. It will come out of our committee as a non-voting item, and it will go to the full board. And the full board, I believe, meets on July 6th, if I'm not mistaken. And so at that time, at that time, the full board will be able to support or not support the combination of the chief executive. And based on the charter, we have 60 days to make 30 days. I apologize. Thank you for that correction. All the teams. He's definitely getting done. We have to show, right? But anyway, I look forward to the continued conversations, and I know that our committee has a hard job, but it's not just up to us to make the decision. A lot of our colleagues do not sit on the committee, and they would also like to be involved in the process, and according to charter, we can discharge it from our committee to the full board, and that's what we're going to do. So, I thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you, Assistant Chief Jacobson, for your presentation this evening. It's well thought out and well acknowledged by the community, and we hope to further discuss with you in the future. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, as we moved and seconded discussion. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, no abstentions. We are adjourned.
I'm here hoping for that.
That's true.
I'm good, how you doing? We're going.
Come up with that song. $25. Wait till my wife comes here.